And one of the things I think about when I think about Aset, when I think about Aset, I think about discipline is the mother of all greatness. When you think about this, discipline is really the mother of all greatness. And as I jump into this topic and kind of go deeper, we've been talking about narrology, been talking about theology. And first of all, I want to say thank you for those who support. Thank you for those who are watching, who like this, who subscribe to my channel, who share this with somebody. I very much appreciate it. And those who have bought memberships or just given super thanks and said thank you in some kind of way, I very much appreciate that. Sending stuff, I very much appreciate your support. You don't know how much help, so I very much appreciate that. And I appreciate your membership as well. And so I wanted to say thank you and to jump in and get into this whole concept of Auset and Neterology and what can we learn about it. Because we've been talking for the past couple of episodes, we were talking about Neter and the concept of God and the concept of creation and the creator in ancient Kemetic theology. And that is that all things come from one source. And everything that is an iteration or an expression of God, really from a Kemetic perspective, they just gave him names. They just gave him names to kind of make it a way that you can kind of understand it better, to deify those expressions of God in a way that you can really understand it. So as I think about it, I think about the concept of Neter, and I think about the aspects that we talk about of God that have gotten expressions and gotten human expression and human names, if you will, in order for us to be able to understand them. We've been talking about Atom. So the last time we talked about Atom, and we talked about the concept of rejuvenation and that whole idea of starting anew. And that's present in nature. That's absolutely present in nature, but it's also present in us. You know, it's present in us physically. It's present in us in so many ways that rejuvenation and renewal is an aspect of God, but it's also in us. And when I see that as connected to Auset. So as I think about Auset and I think about the story of the Asarian tale and the story of Auset helping to bring her husband back to life, you know, her sister helping her as well, helping her to bring her husband back to life and fighting through all the challenges that came with Set and having a baby, having a house in the woods and so many different things. And there's also another story which I'll tell later and talk about and share with my members in the very near future, share with my members later on, a story that talks about just Haru and Set in itself, that doesn't even mention the whole killing of Asar. It kind of assumes that you know that, but it talks about the fight between between Haru and Set. And in that story and in the story of Asarian tale, Auset represents something that Set is not able to kill. Like as much as Set is able to trick Asar and to come up with things to trick Asar, to get him into the casket and get him chopped up and to put him in the Nile, that type of thing. Anytime he comes up against Auset, he can't beat her. He can't fight her. Even in this other tale that I will talk about later on with members. So Auset, to me, she represents discipline. She represents divine discipline. She represents someone in some aspect of ourselves that is able to not give up, that is able to fight through something in order to achieve a goal. So when I think about that, even when I look at this new story that's kind of not new, but new to me, if you will, new to us, some people, it talks about Set and Haru fighting and about there being a great council and about them arguing about who needs to be in charge and should might rule right, or is righteousness the way we should go? Should that be the leader? Even in that situation, even when Set tricks Haru and does all types of things in the story, when he faces off against Auset, when Auset stands up for rightness, when she stands up for her son, he can't put her down. He can't stop her. There's nothing that can stop Auset. And to me, that represents discipline. That represents an aspect of ourselves that is discipline. And as I think about that discipline, you know, that comes through in a lot of different ways. You know, when you think about the Asarian tale and you think about that discipline came from a number of places. That discipline came from a place where she first recognized that something was wrong. So if you think about the Asarian tale and this aspect of Auset and Haru and even Set himself as being all aspects of you, all aspects of our body, all aspects of our spirit, all aspects of our divinity, right? And that then you begin to understand that when your biggest enemy, the person who could fight you the hardest and fight you the most is yourself. And I always say it is a battle that you will always win and lose. You're going to lose and win that battle when you fight yourself. If you're beating up on yourself, you're going to both win and lose that battle. And so when you think about it, that's kind of what Set represents. Set represents something, a situation where we are not in connection with God. We're not in communication with God, where our divinity is not being expressed. We're not living out to our fullest. We're not living out our divinity in every day and in all our ways. And Auset represents a recognition of that. So in the story of Asar, She realizes when her husband is dead, and she finds out that her husband is dead, she becomes very sorrowful. Her and her sister, she becomes very sorrowful, and she cries. And that represents the aspect of ourselves where when you realize something is wrong, when you realize you're not in connection with God, when you don't have the relationship that you want to have with God, you begin to it's like recognizing it first is significant, and that's where the sorrow comes in. The sorrow comes in recognizing it. And I think about the process that takes place within respect to this, because I had an opportunity several times to work with some young people who were playing basketball, and they wanted to get to, a higher level, the next level. They wanted to get into play basketball on another level. And so I worked with them and helped with them in various things. And I remember there was one gentleman that I knew. He was a young man. He's very talented young man. Very, very, very good jumping ability, very good hops, if you will, a very dynamic player. And he was told, he was working with a coach, where somebody was helping to coach and train him, someone who was a famous player, someone who had played at a high level, let's say that, who played at a high level and was a guard at a high level and knew how to play the game. And knew the game. And this trainer told him, the coach told him, you know what, you're not that big. You got some talent there, but you're not that big. You're not as big as maybe you think. When you get at the next level, you're going to be facing people a lot taller than you. You're going to have to be able to dribble. You're going to have some type of talent that stands out in order for you to be able to play. If you want to play the next level, because everybody's big, that's where they're going. Everybody's huge. Sometimes there's not even positionless. There are positionless players, but people need people to handle the ball. And if you're not as big as these guys, you want to be on the floor. You want to be able to handle the rock. And the young man heard it, and the man he heard that, but he didn't take completely the advice to heart. One of the things the guy told him to do, the trainer told him to do, was make sure when you do this, start to think about handling the ball and dribbling the basketball like it's an extension of you, like it's part of you. Everywhere you go, carry your basketball. Take your basketball when you're walking down the street. Take your basketball outside with you. You're here, do these drills, practice putting it through your legs and spinning around with it. Make it so that it's a part of you. And he gave him drills to do, but he also said, make it a part of you, like a part of your life, like it's an extension of you, and you're going to get better and better at dribbling. You need to be able to handle the ball like it's your arm, like it's your own arm, if you will. And I remember hearing that and talking to the young man about it. And I told the young man himself, when you do this, you need to get together a routine. You need to do this and listen to what this person said, because what the man's saying is true. But the young man tried to do it. He did it some, but it was clear, especially in games, that he wasn't doing it enough. He had talent, he had special talent and special skills, but he wasn't practicing enough on the skills that would make him be in the game and make him a star at the next level, right? A star when he moved on. He could do it well at a certain level, but maybe not at the next level. And I saw that, and I saw the whole thing play out. And I saw many kids do the same thing. They get in front of a basketball, and they get before the game, and they start shooting 3-pointers. I'm like, dude, think about having a routine. Start in closer. Start out with something simple. Learn how to dribble, because your team needs help with handling the ball. Do these things, these fundamental things, and you're going to be in the game. You're going to be able to make that shot. You're going to be able to be a contributor, but you need to do the fundamentals. And a lot of the kids just wouldn't listen. They're kids, right? They wouldn't listen. And when I think about that as it relates to many of us too. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining. God bless you. And as we start to think about that, and so the children wouldn't necessarily listen, right? The children wouldn't necessarily perform the skills and perform the basketball drills that they needed. And when they were faced with a higher level of competition, exactly what the coach said happened. They weren't able to be in the game. They weren't able to reach their goals. And when I think about Aset, what Aset represents is that type of discipline, the type of discipline that it takes to be great, the type of discipline that it takes where you are not missing something, where you are willing to do whatever it takes in order to achieve your goal. When you realize something is wrong, I think about great fighters, or great whatever it might be, whatever you're great at. If you were Muhammad Ali and you're great at boxing, or Mike Tyson was very good and still is very good at what he does. That whole idea is that discipline gives birth to greatness, right? There's a difference between success and greatness. A lot of times we will think about success as having things. Success can be defined in many ways, and in the society you're living in can help define success, even though people have their own definitions of it. And you can sometimes think success is a material thing. I got this thing, I got this car, or I got this spouse, or this house, or this job, whatever, and so I am successful. But that doesn't mean necessarily that you can pass on those skills to your children. It doesn't mean that you will keep it. Sometimes people can luck up into success and just kind of inherit it. It doesn't mean that you will keep it. But greatness will allow you to respond to whatever challenge comes to you. Greatness will allow you to engulf success, if you will, whatever that may be, but also to respond in a right way, in a victorious way to whatever challenges met you. And that's what Auset represents. She represents divine discipline. She represents the discipline that gives birth to greatness, not just to success, not just to material things, but to holistic greatness and to divinity, because that's what she represents, the mother of Aru and the wife of Asar. She represents discipline. And so as I think about that, I think about anybody you want to think about. If you want, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, or you want to think about, great scientists, you want to think about people who were remarkable in what they did. These people, most of the time you look at it, they were driven. And it's not just being driven to do something hard that, you hurt yourself or you do till it hurts. It's not just that. It's a different type, because if you don't have a real Auset-like discipline, you're going to stop. Right? You're going to be like those kids I talked about who had to dribble, and all they had to do was practice every day. And it might have seemed like a little bit now. All they had to do was practice. They probably would have been playing and living out their dream just by practicing. But the good part about this applies to prayer. This applies to connection with God. And it applies to you. It applies to you and me. And it's not just, we have things that are challenging within our lives. A lot of the things I believe, and I said this before in an earlier broadcast, we are the mothers and fathers of everything that happened in our lives. Everything that happens in our life, in your life, you are the mother and father of it. From a standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, I understand the differences that may come in place, but you are the mother and father of everything that gives birth and takes place in your life. When you think about that, this whole Asarian tell is representative of you. It's representative of us. It's representative of me. So Set is an aspect of us. Set is that part of us that doesn't allow, whatever it may be, God to be in charge. It's that part of us that wants the might, or, my intellect should be in charge, or my money should be in charge, right? My materialism is really what makes people say the right things. Sometimes, a lot of times, but they don't always mean that. And God knows the difference between your heart and when you're just giving lip service, and your spirit knows, right? So some people say, people really, my money is in charge, or my wealth is, or my strength, or my manhood, or my whatever it is. This is really in the place of God. Set represents that which is in our lives, which is in your life, that is standing in the place of where God should be. That doesn't let God be in charge. Auset represents the ability to change that. And so the important part about the message that comes through with Auset is that nothing could stop her. Set, and this is even yourself, your own trickery, could stop Asar, was able to cut up Asar. Set could fight Haru to a standstill for years and years and years, for a long period of time. Set could not fight wisdom. And God's plan could not overtake God's plan, because God's plan will move forward. That's who he represents. And Set could not stop an individualized, disciplined person like Auset. Set couldn't stop him. The evil uncle view could not stop him. Even you can't stop yourself. When you allow yourself to fight yourself, right? When you allow yourself to have a disconnection with God, then that's a fight you're going to win or lose. But when you decide that you are going to be disciplined, and you're going to do whatever it takes. And how much does it take? Enough. Whatever that enough is. Enough of whatever it takes to be able to fulfill God's vision in your life. When you decide that you're not going to let anything supplant that. When you decide that that's the most important thing in your life. When you put God first, nothing can stop you, not even yourself. Like, that's the beautiful part about it. You can't even stop yourself when you decide to be disciplined. So I pray to God that you take a listen to this, that you hear this. If you have any other questions, let me know. Please share this with somebody. And I just want to stop right here and hope you have a good day. Talk to you soon.